Better sex is just a podcast away.
Ooh, I like that. Today we have a special guest with us. It is the Better Sex Podcast host, Deborah Cat, to talk about what? Sex.
All right. And what sex may look like now.
Woo!
So, hey, Jason, we want you guys to stay tuned. But, hey, Jason, cue the music.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
All right. Hey. Welcome to another episode of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast.
That's right. Welcome, guys. It's Friday.
We made it through another
week. All right.
Welcome, everybody.
And I feel like partying despite technical difficulties.
That's okay, but we made it.
That's right.
We're here. That's all that matters.
We are here, and we hope you guys are with us tonight.
So who are we? We are your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie.
That's me.
And we are here to inspire and empower individuals with actionable strategies and insights for developing meaningful and fulfilling relationships using universal principles, effective communication, and mindset shifts.
All right. So without further ado, we want you to know that we use the manifest method. You may say, well, what is the manifest method? We are glad that you asked. And so it is to help people take their relationship off cruise control. And we do it by using the manifest framework: mindset, awareness, nurture, intention, focus, empower, strengthen, and transform.
All right. So I'm kind of excited about getting into this tonight.
Yes.
All right. So what do we have? Who do we have? No further ado,
Yes.
Let's welcome our Friday Night Live guest, Miss Deborah Cat.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Here.
Yes,
we're so glad to have you.
So for you guys who have not seen the podcast yet, please go to Love and Beyond the I Do podcast on Spotify or anywhere that you get your podcast listened to, and listen to our episode, or you can go to YouTube.
Yep.
And what was the title of it?
It was Unlocking Passion to Better Intimacy and Better Sex. Just a bunch of better things.
I can't remember. Guess we got a lot of stuff going on. But go listen to it with Deborah Cat.
Yes.
So, Deborah, tell them about you. We're not going to read your bio because it's on the podcast. So we want you to let the audience know. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. My name is Deborah Cat. I am a sex and relationship coach out of Santa Cruz, California. And I like to say that I was lucky in my past life and got to grow up in San Francisco. And growing up, I got to see a bunch of different kinds of relationships. And so as I moved into my own sexuality and my own relationships, I had all of these different interesting models to follow. And so it wasn't until I got to college that I realized that what I was into wasn't what everyone was into. And that really shut me down, because here I had this, fun, sexy sex life, lots of different play and lots of different ways of looking at things. And then here I was in college, and my partners were like, well, why do you want to do that? That's kind of weird. And so I got really shut down. And then I decided, you know what, this is not working for me. It's not working for my partners. So I went on this quest to find out more about sex and relationships. And without dating myself, let's just say this was before the internet. So I had to so I read everything that there was available. I took
Ooh.
classes. I got involved with Tantra. I got involved with, exploring different kinds of things. And what I found was that sex is all about the people who are involved.
Yes.
And we have this idea that this is what sex looks like. Two people, they come together, they see each other across the room, they come together, there's, escalation, there's, penetration, there's climax, and then there's napping. And what I found was, for me and for many of my clients, that wasn't actually what felt good to our bodies. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Some of us are, need things a little slower. Some of us, are more interested in, there are definitely people who are the let's get right to it. But there's also a lot of people who have different needs and wants. And so learning about that
Yes.
really changed the way I thought about sex, the way I thought about relationships, and realizing that, that sex can actually make or break your relationship, right? So if, for instance, oftentimes we have this idea of like, oh, it's going to be great in the beginning and then it's just going to die off. And it doesn't have to be that way. What
That's true.
generally I see happens, and I'm sure that well, I'm imagining you might have found this with your clients, that, in the first like 2 years, it's like, it's all passion, it's all
Yes, it
chemistry, it's all
is.
easy. And then we get to a point where it's like, do I even really like what we're doing? Like, does it feel good to me? Does it feel good to my body? And so that's where I like to begin, is what you're doing feeling good to you and your body? Because what I see often is people love
You
each
good?
other, they care about each other, but if the kind of sex that they're having doesn't feel good, then it's not something they want to do a whole lot of,
That's
right?
true.
So
I mean, that's
That's very true.
100% true.
Exactly.
But we have to know what we want, and what feels good to us, and be honest with our partner about it. Because sometimes we'll just go through the motions and won't say anything. We'll just like, I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy, but I'm not going to tell my partner that, because that may hurt their feelings.
So I want to go deeper into when you said you got to college and you found out that the things that you were used to coming from California wasn't the same, right, all over the place, and so it shut you down, right? And so would you say that it shut? Would you understanding what the shutdown means? Were
sure.
you
So I'll just say this. My dating life and my sexuality started at the Renaissance Fair. And if anybody knows anything about the Renaissance Fair, it's all about costumes and props and stories. And
okay?
so, there was a lot of play around like, oh, you know, let me be you want to be my Lord and Master? That's awesome. Or,
Okay.
how about being my stable boy? And just really having a lot of fun and play with it and dress up, right? And so, these were things that I thought everybody did. Like
Okay.
I thought that, like, of course, you've got a date, you're going to play, and so of course you want to get dressed up. Of course you want to create fun and it was, yes, it was about the sex, but yes, it was about all of the other things that went with it. And so,
Okay.
in college, it's like I started dating again, and it was like, well, why would I want to dress up? Why would I want to?
Let's just get right to it. Like, what are you doing? Right?
That's
Right.
not what we're doing. We're getting undressed. We're
Why
not
would I
getting
want to
dressed.
play in this way? And then, I didn't realize I was kinky until it was like, oh, yeah, that's kinky. It's like, oh, okay, great. But the thing is it's like, I love the sensuality. I love the experience. I love the sensation. I loved all of the things, talking dirty to your partner, or all of these different things. And so what I found was, it's like, there were some people that I could invite into coming to play. And then there were folks, that just weren't going to go there with me. Um, and and so it was just like, the more that I would get the rejection of like, oh, that's weird, or that's not for me,
Right.
the less I would ask and the less I was interested, and the more that I tried to do, to be what they wanted me to be. And to your point earlier, it's like we're not invited to talk about sex, right? So
Right.
we're not invited, particularly as women, to say, oh, I want this or I want that. And, men are not necessarily invited to say, I mean, yes, there's the like, did you come conversation, but there's not the like, hey, babe, did this feel good to you? What do you like better? Do you like it better when I touch you like this or like this? Would you
And
like it better if do you want me to talk dirty to you? Do you want me, what words are going to turn you on? What, we're just not talking. We're not, there's not usually a space for this.
right, to
Right.
talk about it. So when you started out and you got clients, did you find that those were they married people? Were they people looking to explore different avenues, or were they people who just weren't comfortable with, like you said, talking about sex, exploring sex, just really figuring out what it is, because that's not a conversation that most people talk about. And then when we get into that age of having sex, we don't know what to talk about or what not to talk about, or even how to express what feels good or what doesn't feel good. So what were your clients and what was the dialogue between you all?
Yeah. So my very first client was a guy that I worked with. And he, it was funny. So, first of all, he hadn't really had any experience with women. And so, first of all, we talked about, what is it that women like? What is it that makes them attracted, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we literally went shopping, did a whole, makeover. Actually, I sat at the bar at Nordstrom's and the personal shopper chopped him up. But
Okay.
and then we talked about like his apartment. Like, was it comfortable? Was it a place where he, where a woman would want to be? And so, then it was like, how do you talk to women? And, what kinds of conversations? And so that was my absolute first client. And
Okay.
then so
Was he
he
socially awkward at all?
oh my goodness, he was definitely socially awkward.
Okay.
So I, just for a tiny bit of context, I'm very close to Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally my first sort of this dating-ish job was his boss was like, hey, he's got the social skills of a doorknob. And
Okay.
so can you help him, right? And so we really started on I mean because he's definitely an introvert, so learning the
Mm-hmm.
skills of having confidence, having conversations, just talking to people about things that were not high tech was really a
Right.
struggle for
Oh,
him. And
sure.
so we moved for that, and then he was like, well, wait a second, like I'm now able to talk to women, now what? And so the conversation went from there. um and
Okay.
then and then from there I ended up doing some taking some more classes and doing a coaching program and learning how to work with couples, because couples are amazing.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And it's a it is a skill, because it's like being able to hold a space so that both people can feel heard. And the thing is it's like oftentimes couples will come in and they're having the same fight over and over again,
Yep.
right? And so inviting them into like, what's the deeper thing here, right? What is it that's really underneath this fight? Whether it's a fight about the dishes, which usually has something to do with like, I really need your support,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's something about often the fight that they have is something around they're just not connecting. They both want something, but they're either talking past each other or they're
Sure.
hitting that resentment.
Okay. And we're gonna come back and let's take some comments real quick. So we're gonna come back to that because I have a question because since you're dealing with couples, all right?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Mia, I think is checking in.
Mia's checking in. Mia's in the house.
Mia.
Thank you for tuning in, Mia. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Dots. Hey.
Good evening,
Good
Jason
evening,
and
Dot.
Tina. All right,
Yeah.
listening from Calumet City, Illinois.
All right.
Thank you, Dot. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in this Friday.
And Darlene Edwards
Darlene says, good evening,
Hey,
family.
family.
Good evening, Darlene.
evening.
Thank you for checking in. So,
Yes.
guys, make sure that you not only drop your name or where you're from, but make sure that you engage with Deborah. So,
Yeah.
about anything. And so that takes me into this next question, Deborah.
Yes.
Oftentimes, when we're dealing with couples, people ask, well, how do you keep the passion alive? How do you get back to actually having conversations about sex? So before you go into that next answer, the question is, if you're looking for a mate, let's just say someone's out there and they're looking for a mate, and sex is not what they want initially. They want to get to know the person. How do we have that conversation as mature adults that, hey, let's not jump into bed. Let's explore each other. Let's find out what we like. Let's find out, like you said, how do we have these conversations, not only about what we're looking for, but also about sex? Because that's a very important part of a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sounds like the question is, when someone's dating and they want to move slowly because they're actually looking for a long-term partnership. What are some of the ways that you can talk about sensuality and sexuality that is going to support slowing down and not moving too fast? Is that what I'm getting?
Or I could be, or even if they want to, I don't know. Like I'm not in that dating space, so it's hard sometimes. What I hear, for women to, find someone that they're attracted to, and maybe the question should be, should it be fast? Should it be slow? Or just how do you have that conversation in general?
Yeah, well, I always like to start with, I like to start these conversations as soon as possible, right?
Okay.
So for instance, talking about communication and the way that you want to be communicated with, you can start that right away. Right? Like, let's say you're starting to date and, you let the person know, hey, I'm a texter. Are you a texter? And starting to find these preferences out, right? This is a great way to start opening up conversations. I know it sounds like, well, wait, I'm just asking about texting, but you're starting to actually ask the questions about what are this person's preferences. It may be, it's like, no, I'm not a texter. I want to be on the phone. It's like, oh, you want to be on the phone, do you?
It's a lot that can happen on the phone.
That's a whole different, you feel her energy. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And then just like starting to move into, I invite people not to talk about past relationships, but I do invite them to talk about things like, I took this class about relationships, and this is one of the things I learned. I learned about the love languages. Do you know about your love languages? Could you tell me is that something you might be interested in, right? So, being upfront about like, look, I've done some exploration here. I've learned these things. Oh, did you know there's this thing called the erotic blueprints, which talks about what's erotic to you? Like, I was on this podcast, or I heard this amazing podcast, and this is what I learned. Can I share that with you? So using these different kinds of resources that we have to start the conversation, and it's like I often will invite people to just start with like, hey, so, I heard this thing, I saw a podcast. What do you think of this movie? So that you bring the ideas in to start the conversation.
I like that.
Okay, so now I'm going to turn it back over to you. So we usually get asked, how do you keep passion alive? So how do you keep passion alive? How do you, if, like I said, most people are not sexually developed, right? They're not taught or talked about sex. So you get into marriages and you kind of feel kind of closed off, or some people don't feel like they can explore their erotic side, or sex just isn't fun. How do you get that passion back? How do couples who have been married either start the sex back or start having exploring ways to make it more passionful?
Yeah, well, so there's it's a two-part question, a
Okay.
two-part answer.
Okay.
One is the invitation is always to come to yourself and start figuring out what turns you on. Because here's the thing, when you show up and you're all turned on and you look at your partner and you're like, oh, dinner. That's good. Like your partner is going to react to that, right? So
Right.
a big part of having passion to begin with is like, how can you fill yourself up? How can you actually come? I'm mixing metaphors here, but like,
Yeah.
how can you arrive half full, right?
Okay.
How can you, or even better, how can you arrive overflowing? Because I'll tell you, it's like one of the biggest mistakes that I see couples make is they're waiting, you know, they're
For the other mate.
they're waiting for their mate to make the move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say that, we have this expectation in our society that men are going to make the first move, right?
Right.
Ladies, we have to drop the hanky, right? We have to give them a sign that we are open, that we are available, that we are ready. Because the truth of the matter is when we, put all that on our men, every time there's a no, every time there's a not now,
Yep.
they step back, they step back, they step back, and they stop, making
Making advances, or even
right.
even going there. I understand, right? If I think if I think it's gonna be a no, I'm not even going to ask. I mean, that's what men have said to me. It's like, well, what? Why would I even try to make a move when she has that look, right? Like,
She doesn't have the
no, she not the I'm open look. It's like I'm closed. Don't come this way.
So what about women who don't know how to go there, right? Because sex has become dull, right? Because sex has become dull, right? So
right, because after a while, it's just if you're not intimate or anything like that, or you're just not. I won't say intimate, but just not touchy feel it or emotionally connected. It's how do you even get back to that space, right? You want to, but then you go and he's like, you talk yourself out of it, like, no, I'm not time's not right now.
Or just like you said, find out what you like. A lot of women don't explore what they like. So maybe in answering this question, you can also talk about some of the things that you've studied that have helped you to realize that there's more than just, hey, let's, like you said, we see each other across the room, or the guy, your husband or your boyfriend initiates it, and then boom, it's climax, and then it's over. How do women, men, whomever, get into a space where sex becomes more sensual than just an act, right?
Yeah. Well, so step one is approval. Right? Step one is you need to be in approval of your own desires.
Okay.
Right? And that can be edgy for people. Because
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
It can be edgy for people to say, yes, I am a sexual being and I am in approval of that. But here's the thing. When we can bring approval for ourselves, we can bring approval for our partners. Right? And this is particularly important for women to understand about the men in their lives. Men are looking for approval, right?
Okay.
They are looking for us to look at them and go like, babe, you are amazing. and so I know I haven't quite answered your question, but
No. Go ahead. Just whatever you can give.
I like the fact that the women should tell the men, babe, you look amazing. Then that would be an
not
open.
look, you are amazing.
You
Well,
are
look, too.
amazing.
You look amazing.
I can't wait to be in your company. Is amazing. Like, that is what men want from women. Women, what we want from men is we want your attention. We want you to turn off whatever it is that else is going on in your life, we want you to bring that incredible focus that you have. We want you to bring that focus to us, right? And we want the focus to be on the journey together, right?
Right.
Because
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of what sex
Right.
looks like is let's get to the goal.
Right.
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 So when we change the goalposts, if you will, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the right metaphor here. When we change it to like, how much pleasure can we give each other?
Right.
Then, it changes everything. Now, at some point there has to be a conversation. Even if it's one of these conversations where it's like, so there's this thing that I've been thinking about, right? Like wherever you start is, give yourselves credit for the start. And then, in terms of your own pleasure, it's like in the shower, slowing down, getting yourself one of those handheld shower
Yep.
tubs,
Okay.
noticing like the clothes that you wear, noticing like, how do I feel when I put this on? How do I feel when I put that on? What is around me that is pleasing to my eye?
So I guess being in tune with your sexuality, just
Right. Or how you feel.
right, just kind of recognizing, because we need to do right as
Right.
women, you need, or men, like you said, slowing down, just paying attention to what makes you feel good or aroused, or just, and I would say, as you're answering that, again, it's, you said there has to be a conversation, right?
She keeps going back to that
Yeah, because
conversation
I
has
know,
to be had.
yeah, it does. But how do women have that conversation with their mate, married or unmarried, if it's never been talked about, it's never been explored, or they're not even sure
Where to start?
where to start. Like,
Right.
how do I explore myself? Or they don't, like, we get so many negative ideas about sex as women growing up, that a lot of women shy away from
Being open.
or exploring, or just exploring their sensuality,
Right.
or just jumping back in with their partner.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say, to women specifically, but to everybody, is that like you are a sensual being and you deserve pleasure and your body is capable of it. And
Okay. Yep.
so, sometimes the first conversation is actually with yourself. It's like actually reminding yourself that you are capable of this, that your body is made, like these bodies are made for pleasure, right? They are made, I mean, and so in terms of like, having that conversation, it's like you can start it by texting. You can start it by verbal. You can start it by, but something along the lines of, babe, I love you and we are committed to be together for time and memorial. And so why don't we take a little bit of time to, this is what we have is good, but I know what we can have is better, right? And better can be just a little bit longer. It can be a little bit more foreplay. It can be a little bit more touching. It can be a little bit more, it doesn't have to go from 0 to, 100 right away.
Right.
From 0 to 5 in some places is a huge, huge, improvement. But I
Sure.
think part of it is it's like really assuring your partner, it's like, look, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't
Right.
want to be with anyone different. I want you. And I want us to have something that, like we've been doing the same thing for a bit, and I'm imagining there's something better. I'm imagining that it can get better.
Right.
And again, it's like, I personally I think the easiest way to do it is to like I said, bring in, the podcast, or bring in the book, or bring in the
Sure.
you know,
Something that you
any other
something that you've
resources,
seen,
so it's
right?
not really coming from you per se. You were just saying, "Hey, I heard this on this resource, or I read this. So, what do you think about that?" And you can jumpstart a conversation like that.
And
yeah.
so
And then the next part of that is it's like, you know, I've been thinking.
I
And
love.
you know what I've been thinking, this is something we've never tried. I'm curious what you think about it. You know, or maybe there was something like, if you go back to one of the things I like to suggest to couples sometimes is it's like, where was the sexiest place? What was the sexiest date you ever had? And how can you go back to that?
okay.
Right?
Okay. Yep.
Right, and my thing would be now flipping it to the men, right? So a lot of men want to go from zero
To 100.
to 100,
Right.
right? They don't realize, and we've had conversations on the podcast before about helping men to understand as the whole process for women. It's not just, okay, you're aroused. It actually takes a woman
A lot longer.
Yeah, a lot, like what Susan said, right?
Yep.
They're like the English muffin, and then you have to get into the butter has to get into the crevices. So how do women have the conversation with their partner that, hey, I want to enjoy sex. I want, like you said, this body is made for that, because when we're touched, it arouses something.
Yep.
Right? So how do women have the conversation with their partners that it requires more than just you're up, you're awake, and you're ready to get to it, right? So,
Yeah, I mean,
helping them out.
There's a bunch of different ways to do that. One of them is like when your partner is coming towards you. So here's the thing. One of the biggest things that I see, one of the biggest sort of issues I see around like sex happening is that women will shut it down right away because she's not having the kind of sex she wants. Right?
Oh, okay. Got
So
it. Yep.
he's going to look at her from across the room and she's going to give him that shutdown look. Right?
Right.
You know, she's afraid that even if she gives him any kind of indication that, you know, that there's an opening, that it's going to, you know, that he's going to expect sex, and then, you know, that she's going to be wrong and bad if she holds out. Like there's a big, one of the things I really want men to understand is that, you know, women have a lot of pressure around, you know, being not a good girl per se, but like not being a slut,
Right.
not being a tease, not being, you know, not somehow inciting things. And so oftentimes when the shutdown comes, it's not so much that she doesn't want some form of intimacy, but like that fear that it's going to, you know, that there's the expectation of sex is going to be, and it's not going to be the sex that she wants, is going, you know, is what shuts things down. Now, gentlemen,
Talk to him now. Come on. Wake him up.
you know, I women, so there's something called an erotic arc, right? And some people are, you know, ready to go right away. And some people are going to start getting more turned on as things start happening, right? So, you know, if there's an invitation, right, to come on over here and let me kiss you and let me touch your ear, and we don't have to go any further than that. I just want to, like, you know, connect in here, and I want to be connected, and I want to touch you, and I want to smell you, and I want to be close to you, right? And so as that starts to happen, you know, oftentimes women will start to, or the partner who is, you know, has more of um, a responsive turn on is going to, you know, start to get turned on again. Now, timing does have something to do with it, right?
Right.
So for some folks, it's like, you know, they need a certain amount of space before they're ready to you know, to go. So this is when I think I can't remember who I heard this from, but they were saying that foreplay starts at the last climax, right?
Woo.
So,
Yeah, a lot of men right now in trouble. I can tell you that right now.
so,
You just
Right.
climax happens. You're
Feeling good and
you've got some pillow talk going on. That is the time to be like, babe, that was so good. You look so happy right now. And just start playing with each other again. But like, so back to
hold on 1 second for me, Kat. I got
comment.
yup.
Oh,
Kelly
hey,
Dickerson.
Kelly.
Hey,
Kelly
Kelly,
here.
how are you? All right. So what I would like to say is, guys, if you guys have a question, you can ask a question for a friend. I know it may not be for you, but it could be for a friend.
Right, your friend that's sitting next to you,
Yeah,
or the
exactly,
friend that
yeah.
called you that you're telling them about. So
Right.
you can ask Deborah a question about anything, right?
Right.
Anything pertaining to whatever.
Right.
Right.
So you will talk about something.
even if-
It's not about you. It's not about your situation. But like I said, for a friend, I mean, like we're here to help our friends out, right? So if so, we can ask the question and we
Okay.
can just have a conversation around
before
it.
Deborah loses her thought. Okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
where was I?
right.
Yeah. But this idea of bringing in, like, slowing down and then having the conversation. It's like, sometimes. So one of the things I do with my clients is I invite them to have a pleasure lab. And what the pleasure lab is literally you get your phone out for 15 minutes, you set the timer for 15 minutes, and one person says to the other, how would you like me to touch you for 15 minutes? And then that person gets to say, I want you to, like, grab me and hold me tight, and or I want you to just stroke my arm, or I want you to tickle me behind my knees, or I want you to give me a massage. And then you get to change. It's like then the other person gets to, like, how would you like me to touch you for 15 minutes?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, that's not going to
You know
work.
what? I'm sitting here and I'm going 15 minutes. Wait a minute. Are we saying 15 minutes including the activity or no activity within the
It's
15
just-
minutes?
It's just 15 minutes of touching.
Touching. You're going to lose me in 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you that.
Okay, so start with 5 then.
Okay. All right.
Remember 5 minutes.
And that's what I'm.
It is an experiment, right? You are learning what is going to make your partner, what feels good to them.
Awaken them, right?
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say about men.
Right.
Most men, they don't want speed bumps. They want to go from 0 to
Want the
100.
fast lane. Yep.
Yeah, they want and the problem is, so when we're talking about passion and relationships, and we're talking about keeping the intimacy alive, first, as we've talked about, intimacy has different definitions, right? And even sex looks different, right?
Yeah.
Sex doesn't have to be intercourse, right? We have to realize that as we're getting older, sex can look any kind of way that you want it to look like. I know, remember last on the podcast, you were talking about foreplay could be looking like making up the bed, right?
You look over.
Oh yeah.
right? That's
So here's the thing. One of the things I work with is the erotic blueprints. And the erotic blueprints is this idea that we have different ways of having sex. And now here's the thing. So the one that we talk about often, the like 0 to 60, that's the sexual blueprint. And here's the thing is it's like we expect all men to have that sexual blueprint. But the thing is that's not actually true. There's other blueprints. There's the energetic, which is more of that slowness. That's more of the eye gazing. That's more of the touching. That's more of the, like, almost kissing each other, or, the tease, right? Then there's the sensual, and the sensual needs, like, they're all about the senses. So they need a clean space. They need it to smell good. They need it to look good. They need the lighting to be right. And, they want to make sure that the lotion feels good. And then you have, the kinky, who's about the taboo, right? And it can be, the taboo meaning that, like, you're in a restaurant and you go to the bathroom together, and or you play in places where it's like you're not supposed to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be like whips and chains. So that's not what I mean when I mean kinky.
Okay.
I mean taboo. Although it could be.
Right.
So again, learning what your blueprint is can make a huge difference, because it's like if somebody, has one kind of blueprint and their partner has something else, it's not that, it means that they get to expand into it. Right. It means that they get to learn more about that. And here's the thing. It's like, if we have the same kind of sex forever, like some of us have been together for, 20 years, and some of us are looking to being together for another 20 years. It's like, things change. We change. Our desires
bodies
change.
change,
Our
right?
desires
Bodies
change.
change,
Yeah.
right? And, it's like, I know it's a hard conversation to have, right? I know it's a hard conversation to have. But here's the thing. If you don't start the conversation, nothing's going to change. And,
That's for sure.
most folks, at least the folks that come to see me, clearly they're coming to see me because they want something different. But it's like, once they start having the conversation, once they start exploring, once they start like really understanding what turns them on, right? And they can actually do that thing, where they're able to turn themselves on, not just for their partners, but their whole world is going to change.
Exactly.
What's
Right.
going to happen is you're going to be at the grocery store and you're going to be bored. So you're going to do that thing that turns you on. And then all of a sudden you're going to get up to the cashier and like he or she is just going to like wave, all of a sudden they're going to be like forgetting to ring things up. Because they're just like, who is this person?
You're glowing with all that energy.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you have to do anything with that energy, right? Like it means that you get to enjoy that energy. And, I like to talk about flirting in a way that is like, it's not about escalation. It's just about like the connection and seeing if you can make that person smile, right? Can you leave that person better than you found them? And that's hopefully
I don't know about men and the teasing zone. Like men always want the
Right. I might see that as an opening. Right.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so I just want to say something about, just to go back to what we were talking about around, the other thing is it's like, sometimes, when a partner like is done, let's say that one of the partners are more interested in, they don't want to go all the way to sex, right? And there's a partner that is feeling, incomplete. It's like you get to take care of yourself, right? So
Nope. How? People are saying how. For those out there, I can hear them. I can hear them. They're like, wait, if my partner wants to have sex and it's boring, or what did you use earlier? Like, I'm not fulfilled, right? Let's just say they're not fulfilled. What do they tell their partner who wants to have sex where they're not shutting them down and no one feels, slighted, right? So this is an area really in relationships where
Can you hold that thought?
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sandra came through and she said,
What do you think? I want to see what it said. Fire truck.
it's getting kind of hot. And
All right. You should see Deborah's face when she says it.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's getting hot in here. All right. LOL. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one.
And then Kelly says,
this is a great conversation. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
And that's right there. That's what men say. Let's get into it.
Right.
And it's not just men. I know it's not just men. Some women are like that. But most of the time when men, well, at least for the people that we've dealt with, right? Once you get older, men want to have sex. They're like, okay, we're married. I don't have time for the foreplay.
Right.
Or a woman is unfulfilled and they don't know how to get fulfilled. They don't know what to explore. They don't know what to do. And because sex has such a negative connotation around it, they think that masturbation is bad, or they think that exploring, touch itself is sensual, right? So we have to be able to do things that going to reignite us so that we can reignite our partner. So all you, Deborah.
and you're going to have the awkward conversation. It's just, you're going to have to do it. And I'm sorry, but like one of the things that I love that you guys do and you talk about is the I can't remember, not your date talks, but your
Oh, love talks.
Yeah.
Our Lord have
Yep.
mercy. Yeah.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
good.
right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
go
Yep.
ahead.
I mean, it's
Yeah, go ahead.
the thing is, and hopefully, gentlemen, I'm going to talk right to you. I invite you to ask your partner, you know, is there anything that you can do better? Is there anything that she would like to explore? Is there anything that you would like that she would like differently?
I think
Right?
men are afraid to ask that question.
You know what?
From a man, what do you think?
It's a, you know what? I kind of quivered in my chair here, right?
I have faith in you.
Right?
Faith in you. I have faith that you can hold that conversation. I have faith that you can get grounded, that you can, connect with your cock, that you can connect with your partner, and that you can ask your woman, baby, I love you, and I know that we can make this so much better. Is there anything I can do for you?
Can men do that?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Because in the end, in the end, it's going to get better.
Because Eddie said after 10 seconds of holding the hand, he's ready to go straight to the thing, right?
He did. Yeah.
Right,
So yep. So we had a couple on, and the
they have the 10-second rule. So
right,
he's
he said
like,
if he's holding her hand
or touching her longer than 10 seconds,
they're going to the next base.
They're going to the bedroom.
Right.
But that's very important, right? When you said you're talking specifically to men, because men don't think like that.
No.
And
we don't want to ask that questions because we don't want you to tell us something that's going to hurt our feelings.
Okay.
That's the thing. I don't want a woman to tell me that I'm not good in bed.
Well, a woman. Wait, let's back up. You mean me? Just yeah. Wait.
I'm talking for the men.
So I'm talking to the gentleman again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I invite you. I know this is challenging, but like, can you actually have some neutrality about that conversation? Right? Can you actually be like, you know what? I'm just going to do an interview. This isn't about me. Right?
Where are those men who don't think it's about them?
I mean, I ask my clients to do this all the time. So I know that if you want it bad enough, you will have that awkward conversation. If you want it bad enough, you will be willing to take, the information that you get and to do things differently.
So what about the women who are listening and they need to tell their partners about this, right? They can say, I listened to a podcast, and their partners may say, okay, great. So what do women say to get their partners to ask those questions or for them to initiate it? How do we get back into good sex, right? How do couples get back into the passion and the good sex? And because sex is not just about the act, it's about the whole feeling, the whole process, the whole of bubbling over, right? So how do women get their men to understand, hey, babe, I'm not being fulfilled, right? It's much more than an act.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, ladies, we need to give ourselves permission. We need to give ourselves a permission slip. Like, literally, you have permission to ask for what you want. You have permission to have the pleasure that you want. You have permission to, explore this incredible thing that is your body, right? And then the next piece is, it's like, there's often, I hear people talk about like the sandwich, right? Where it's like you tell them what they do right, and then you ask for an adjustment, and then you say thank you, right? So that could sound like, babe, I really love it when you touch me. I really love your touch. It's amazing. Can you touch me for a little bit longer?
Can you touch me? No. Jason, 5 seconds.
How long? I'm just kidding.
To the gentleman, to the 5-second rule, gentlemen, I would really, first of all, 5 seconds, really? I would encourage you to see, what happens when you elongate that. Like, what happens when it's 10 seconds? And
Well,
also,
I said 5 minutes, but since we're talking about seconds, but right. So when
Yeah.
you're saying that, actually tell men what they can get out of that, right? Because
Ooh.
elongating that may actually arouse them more sexually, where it helps the whole process of when your mate is more turned on, right? Just getting people back to understanding, like you said, there's a two answer, but there's two people involved in this act, right? We both have to get something out of it, or you know
Someone's gonna walk away unfulfilled.
yeah,
yeah.
and here's the thing, like, if for the men that I've worked with, it's like most of you have no idea how good it can be, right? Because
Okay.
it's like, you can have full body orgasms. You can have orgasms where you don't ejaculate. You can have orgasms where, it is a that you just don't even know how good it can be, right? Because you are so trained to like get in, get on, get out, and
Yes.
that's it, right? But here's the thing: if you can, allow yourself, I mean, if you can allow yourself to take to actually take the time to notice, like, as you're getting really aroused, as you're getting to the edge, right? Can you actually take another breath? Can you slow yourself down just a little bit? Can you look in your partner's eyes? Can you, that I know, can you find some stillness, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's, when you are, moving and shaking and things are moving, it's like, can you actually slow that down and take a moment for stillness and actually feel into your whole body? Like, can you bring your attention down, out of your cock and down to your toes, to feel what's possible there? Like, can you actually feel, your heart as you're, moving towards climax? Like, can you take a moment and actually, consider the idea that maybe climax isn't the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and again, hard conversation.
Right,
Right, right,
right.
right, right,
I
right.
want to
No,
go
I
back to
understand.
before we get out of here. I want to go back to the permission slip because I think that's really hard for ladies. So, ladies, if you guys need a permission slip, I'm going to put one on our website. You can download it, print it out, right? So, I'm but the permission slip, because I think for women, it's a little harder to actually find that sexual arousement, right? We're expecting our partner to do it. We don't really know what we like. We don't know how to express it. So, women, give yourself a permission slip to explore. So, tell them some of the things that they can do to find out how to make sex better, how
Absolutely.
to
So
enjoy it more.
I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I'm going to invite you to figure out, how do you want to move your body? And the way you're going to do this is, like, look at all of the different ways that you move your body. Do you dance? Do you bike? Do you go to the gym? Like, how do you move your body? And notice, how does your body feel afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you start with, like, what are the pleasures that I already have? So for instance, it's like, walking is available. Where
Right.
you are, walking is available. If you just, if you take the time to take a walk and notice your body, like literally bring your attention to, down into your genitals, down into your clitoris, down into your pussy, and notice what it feels like when you're walking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start paying attention. Um, Sorry if I'm too graphic, but
No,
I just didn't expect
down
it.
there,
I was like, what? Okay.
literally, like, and notice, like, what feels good and what doesn't feel good.
mm-hmm.
And then when you are alone in the shower, take an extra moment, right? And touch some of the parts that you don't usually touch, and slow down. Like, it can be the inside of your arm, right? And then it can be your chest. It can be your belly, and then it can be, down into your labia and your clit. I mean, And ladies, I cannot, permission granted. Like,
Right.
you have permission. This is your body. I invite you to explore it. I invite you to see what is possible there. So, moving your body. And then when you are and I invite, if you don't self-pleasure, please do.
Okay.
Like, please do. And take the time to actually, explore a little bit. Like, most of us learn how to self-pleasure or masturbate, like we're under the covers, it's quick, it's like, we're just trying to do it as quickly as possible and release energy, right? That's great. And I invite you to I'm going to invite you to set the timer for 5 minutes and just, not necessarily for climax, but just for the experience of what's it like to be in my body. Right. And then if you want to get, really, if you really want to push it, it's like, can you, while you're in a situation, when you're with your partner, let them know. It's like, would it be okay with you if I touched myself while I'm with you? Right? Invite your partner. Like, there is nothing. One of the places that I often invite, my couples to try is, it's like, have you ever self-pleasured in front of each other? And, one thing, you're going to learn a lot, right? Because you're going to see how your partner strokes themselves, how they touch themselves, encourage. So it can be really edgy, but it can also be really interesting, and again, it doesn't have to be to climax, right? It doesn't have to be to climax. As we slow down and show each other, as we should, and feel into what it feels like, it opens up a lot of possibilities.
And
That's right.
That's
So-
what we want in the end, right?
Right.
Those possibilities.
Or-
and you get to learn your partner, right? Truly.
And I think it's like you said, ladies, permission granted. We have so many stereotypes. We've as women, like you said, you're looked at as, someone who's loose or this or that. Oh, Kelly says explore toys in the bedroom. And that's true. So many women and men, they think that there's something wrong with exploring toys, right? There's so many different ways. Go ahead.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about our last conversation, and we were talking a little bit about toys. My favorite toy is a blindfold.
Is it because of the mystery?
Well, because there's a couple things. One is it heightens the sensation. It heightens all the senses, right?
Right.
It heightens hearing. It heightens,
Right, because you can't see. Right.
the way things feel on your skin. But it also, right, it puts you into your own body, right? So it takes the outer vision and brings it in.
Okay.
And so I really invite people to, now, first of all, it's also a big trust issue.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's like, I'm going to let you blindfold me. I am trusting you here.
Right.
And oftentimes, again, this is stereotypical, but oftentimes when a woman gives her trust to a man, it's going to up-level him.
Right.
When a
Exactly.
woman trusts a man, it up-levels him.
In her eyes.
In her eyes, but also often in him.
Okay.
I've often had men say, oh God, I had no idea what it was like. And then when she, surrendered to me, when she allowed me, I was like, oh, I better not fuck this one up.
Right.
Right.
And again, I think women, they have to surrender. They have to release. We release the energy that we have. It's natural. And I think that's where so much, we have to stop looking at the bedroom. Nobody knows what you do in your bedroom.
There you go.
Right? Nobody knows but you. And so you can be whatever you want to be and nobody knows.
You can dress however you want to dress.
Right. So I was going to say, let's even try. Let's talk about, real quick, dressing up. Right? Try something new. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like for both parties. It's like, when my partner gets all ready for a date and he takes the time to like, look good for me and, shave and, take that extra minute for the date, I'm like, And then when I mean, I happen to like, to like lingerie a lot. And I will say this, there is some lingerie that you just wear from, it's what I call hallway lingerie.
Right.
And then there's the kind of lingerie that you can actually, wear underneath your dress, or, and you can kind of like, hey baby, and show a little skin.
That's
But
right.
here's the thing: is it's like it's got to make you feel sexy. If
Right.
what you're wearing makes you feel like, oh,
A sack of potatoes.
yeah. If it doesn't make you feel sexy, then try something else, because there are some amazing, different lingerie companies out there for all sizes and all forms, and so I highly recommend, again, exploring. And I invite people to, yes, you have your comfortable underwear, but find the invitation, permission granted to have sexy underwear on a regular basis.
That's right. That's
As
right.
long as it's comfy sexy underwear, and sexy to you,
Right.
right? Like, there's like textures is important, and
Right.
as well as the visual.
Right, right. All right, ladies and gents. So that is going to we got
Yeah, I
another
got one-
question.
no, I got a comment.
Oh, okay. Another Darlene Clark has said this has been a very interesting conversation.
Yep.
So, ladies, I just want you to know that it's not always about pleasing the man. And that's where I think relationships start to lose their fizzle, because it becomes all about one partner or the other. So we have to make sure that men understand that, as we talked about, right? Intimacy may start outside of the bedroom for women, and it may be inside the bedroom for men, but we have to have these conversations where we are actually exploring other avenues for just pleasure. And pleasure doesn't always mean climax. It doesn't mean intercourse. It means, as we get older, we may have to change the face of sex, which means
Right.
that your body has so many pores and openings and senses that let's explore that. Let's just be open to new possibilities of what, sexual pleasure can look like for you and your mate.
Oh, I'm game for that.
So let's put Nancy's message up there. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us tonight.
thank you,
yes,
Nancy.
very. Thanks, Deborah.
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
Pleasure. Thank you for, such a great conversation, and for just being the champions for relationship and sex that you guys are.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's everything. I think everything matters in a relationship. So, if we can find all the pieces to the puzzle, and sex is one of them. I mean, I think, like you said, women, and maybe some men, they have to grant themselves permission to look beyond what society says, right? Because
And men have to slow down, right? Find out what your lady wants.
yeah.
And give her just that. Don't give her what you want her to have. Give her what she wants.
Find out what you like, because I'm going to bet that there are a lot of men who are jumping on the Fast and Furious. And they start to slow down. They're like, holy heck.
Right.
I have no idea.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So just an invitation to slow down, to explore, to, I mean, one of the things I like to do with my clients, last thing I promise, is to literally say, forget everything that you know about sex.
Okay.
Take penetration off the table, and spend a night exploring each other, from making out to, everything else. And I mean, they put it back on the table. I'm not.
Yeah. It could go off the table for a minute.
Right.
If you you can't have that conversation with your partner, come and see somebody who is going to help have that conversation, right? Because, it's not an easy one for some folks. And
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely.
there is help out here. Like,
There is help. All right. All right. Let's see Sandra's comment.
We got one more.
Thank you, Sandra. She says, it's my turn. Yes, yes, yes.
ma'am.
And ladies, like, it's so many things, right? Because I say that because I speak with so many ladies who are just, because it says closed in, who think it's nasty to explore their bodies, or think it's unhealthy, or something's wrong with it. So we have to take away the conditioning, because someone else has put that on you. Right. So someone has said, oh, women are supposed to do this, or women are supposed to do that. And so when we find ourselves feeling unfulfilled, then where do we turn? So if you want your relationships to still have the passion, the tenacity, the intimacy, we have to be having in all areas.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
close anything out? And we're going to let Deborah have the
Well,
last word.
I'm gonna let Deborah have the last word, then I'll close it out. So, Deborah,
Okay.
tell us, how can we get in contact with you? Where you're at?
Tell them how they can connect.
All the ways.
Oh, thank you so much. So you can find me at deborahcat.com, DEBORAHKAT.com, the Better Sex Podcast. I'm on all the socials with Deborah Tantra Cat, and I'm so excited to be here. And I think the last thing I want to just say is that life is too short, right? We are only in these bodies for a short time. And we're in bodies for a reason, and I believe we're in bodies to explore them.
Me too. Let's explore.
I'm with you on that.
Dora the Explorer. Okay. Because the more we know what we like and what brings us pleasure, the more we can express that to our mate. So guys, marriage and relationships is all about exploration. How much can I know about you? How much I know about myself, and how can we share it, right? If you want to know what makes, legendary relationships, it's about not being afraid to be who you are. That's a natural process. All right. So, anything else, Mr. Scott?
I think that's it. I enjoyed this conversation. Deborah, thank you so much. I think this is like our third conversation.
Yes. So,
You guys are so good. Thank you so much.
so you guys, we are going to be putting out a view. Deborah's came out Wednesday, right?
Right. Deborah's episode came out Wednesday.
So Deborah's episode on Love and Beyond the I Do came out Wednesday. Please go back and look at the podcast. This is our live podcast, but we have a podcast that you can go and look at and listen to. So if you want to see the whole entire podcast, go to the YouTube channel you want to go Legendary Relationship or Love and Beyond the I Do.
Legendary Relationship.
Okay, so-
YouTube, just go to Legendary Relationship.
So go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe. So if you're not getting notifications, guys, make sure you subscribe, or you can send us your email and you will get the podcast when they come out on Wednesday delivered straight to your email. All you have to do is do a click. You don't have to search. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder when it came out.
Even the Friday Night Live link will be in that email too.
There
as
you
well.
go. You get it all. So if you're not on our email list, make sure you send us one at team at legendaryrelationship.com. Go check out Wednesday's podcast
Yes,
with
please do.
Deborah. And then we'll let you know when another one drops when we're on the Better Sex podcast. So we were there too.
That's such a fun conversation.
So anything else? Oh, so let's do the, can you move that over a little bit? Let's do the where you can check us out. Do you want to read that? You want me to read that?
Go ahead.
I'm talking kind of fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. You want to bring it over just a little. Okay. Well, I'll just do it like this. All right. So where are we at? What's going on? So
where are we at around town?
So we are being featured on the Relationship Factor podcast. Go look it up. The Relationship Factor podcast. We were on Man versus Marriage podcast. You can go check out that one. We were on Your Honest Ally podcast. Go look that up. So guys, just do the rewind and see. We were also on the Anonymous Andrew podcast. So that's where you can go and check us out. We talk 4 totally different conversations, 4 different things. So go check them out. Also, you can also listen to us at hitusaradio.com at 4:00 every Monday through Friday, every day, right? And that's the In It to Win It relationship segment on the Tommy Guns Bridging the Gap Artist Spotlight segment. So we are answering viewers' questions on relationships. If you have a question, you can send it in too. All right. So you can also, I already did that. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed, or send the email to subscribe directly to the email.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it. I think that's it. Guys, if you're enjoying this conversation, tap a friend, tag a friend, let them know, let them subscribe to all the channels wherever we are. We on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere.
All right. So I got one more thing. Sunday, March 16th, because this is where Legendary Relationship will be. So Sunday, March 16th, I will be on the book club with Chauvel and Moore, or you can find it on the Gold Rush Women's Conference Facebook page. I'm not sure which Facebook page it is. It either says Chauvel and Moore, or it says Gold Rush Women's Conference Facebook page. Okay, either one of those. And we will be discussing the 12 steps. Can you raise it up a little bit? We will be discussing the 12 steps to your healing. Okay. All right. And it's by the author Sheila McKeithen. So join us this Sunday from 4 to 5, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, darn, I forget. But
Well,
I believe it's
we'll
4
put
to
it
5.
out there on Facebook.
Yeah, it's 4 to 5.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That's it. All right.
So until next time, remember, love is a choice, as well as touching yourself, understanding yourself, knowing what makes you happy so that you can express that to your partner. And if you're not having sex, start with yourself and then bring your partner in. Whatever makes you happy. Deborah says we have granted permission tonight. You have full permission to explore the universe, all parts of it, in, out, the craters. And so, guys, what I want you to do is look at your partner and say, dinner, huh? You got to show them that look, Deborah. You got to show them, right? So show us one of those. So before we get out of here, show us one of those great looks that you give your partner when you are feeling that way.
Dinner, baby.
So, all right. And guys, don't get too excited at the store. We don't want the cashier to just lose their mind. All right. So
I'll say this before we get out of here.
Right.
Dot says, great conversation this evening.
Thank you,
We appreciate you, Dot.
Sandra said, thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Sandra.
And Nancy gives you 5, 6 hearts, something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hearts.
Yep.
Thank you, Deborah, for being our guest tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Tell them one more time, Deborah, where they can find your podcast.
Absolutely. The Better Sex Podcast. And the best way to find that, I'm on Apple, I'm on Spotify, but I'm also at deborahcat.com/podcasts.
All right, wonderful. So thank you, everyone. If there are no more questions, and guys, stop being so shy.
That's
Just
right.
ask the question.
We're here. We're bringing the conversation right to you. All you have to do is be active.
There you
That's
go.
it. But we're going to ask the tough questions, and we're going to have these conversations. So we know you're listening. So now you just go out and you just use this information to make your relationship better.
So
and let's have better sex.
So when you're jumping back in the driver's seat of your relationship, jump back in the sack. All right.
That's right.
Invite your partner in a different way. They may wonder, who the heck are you listening to?
Yep.
Go find some sexual books and listen to, or some wonderful podcasts. All right. So this has been another wonderful episode. Thank our guests one more time. Can we get it? Let's see.
I don't know if it came through though.
I don't know if it came through. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So as always.
Hold up. Don't go anywhere, Deborah.
All right.
All right.
As always, we're in it to win it.
Till next week, guys.
Love you.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Lovin' Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.